Hello, this is Alta. Here I have a recording of Against the Storm run I did about 2 months ago. It's a recording on Prestige 20 where it ultimately ends up in a year 2 victory. And so today I'll be going over that run and commentating on the various decisions I made during this run. So I did this run about 2 months ago, which means it was done in patch 1.5. We're now on patch 1.7, but the game is still pretty similar. So basically everything I do here is still applicable to the game on 1.7. Specifically, this run I did at the end of a cycle where I already accrued a lot of extra starting resources from world events, and I also have a very large number of extra embarkment points. So this is a very stacked run. I'm going to this with 19 people and about 10 world events worth of extra things. This is definitely something that wouldn't be possible if I just reset the cycle and started from a fresh settlement. And so first I'll be going over the decisions I make when it comes to the embarkment bonuses. The way I'm going to be doing this is I'm just recording myself talking over this Windows Media Player recording, and I will just pause it as needed so I can explain the things that I do. Okay, so first off, I will talk about the starting caravans. Okay, so there's 3 caravans. This I think is a pretty straightforward decision. So the main things you want to look for are, 1, a lot of people. This one has 16, this one has 14, this one has 13. So just by that alone, this wins. And then we also want to look for the species that we care more about versus the ones we care less about. The main thing when it comes to species composition in Against the Storm ever since the 1.4 patch is you want a large number, preferably a majority, of either harpies, foxes, or lizards, in that order, where harpies are best and lizards are worst. And the reason why you want those specifically is because it comes to reputation generation. All of harpies, lizards, and foxes, they have 5 resolve by default, and they start generating reputation at 15 resolve, which means you need 10 additional resolve from their base to start generating reputation. And compared to that, frogs and humans, frogs start at 10 and need 25 to generate reputation, and then humans start at 15 and need 3 to generate reputation. So which means they need 15 additional resolve to start generating reputation, while beavers need entire 20. And this is the main reason why the species with the lower resolve thresholds are preferred, because getting plus 10 resolve is much easier to getting plus 15 resolve, and generating the first point of reputation is a lot more important than later points of reputation because of the snowball effect it has, because reputation unlocks you blueprints, and then blueprints, you do things with blueprints. And additionally, another thing that harpies, lizards, and foxes have over the other species is once they are generating reputation, they generate at a rate that's just faster. There are 2 different reputation generation formulas, and if you look at the ones for the lizards, harpies, and foxes, the numbers are just bigger. So it is important here that I have a large number of either foxes, lizards, or harpies. And for most runs, harpies are definitely better than foxes, but I think if you're going for year 2 wins specifically, foxes end up being a bit better, mostly because the time you have is so short and so compressed that the bonus, the glade event speed that foxes have end up being a bit more valuable. But for the most part, if you're going for year 3 P20 wins, generally I find harpies are a bit better, and anything slower than that, then harpies will be a decent bit better than foxes. But regardless of how fast you're going, harpies and foxes are very close. Lizards are a bit worse, and then everything else is a lot worse than the lizards. Okay, so we picked this caravan. This is not particularly a choice because this is just much better than others. Okay, when it comes to embarkation bonuses, first off, I am taking all of the food. And this is something that I basically do every game. Regardless of what the other bonuses are, and regardless of how much, whether they cost 1 or 2, you take all of the starting raw food. And the reason this is because like the reason this is because okay, so the first thing, like basically the most important thing that you have to solve in every settlement is the question of how do I get raw food? And usually there are a few ways to do this. You can get raw food from like various like glade events or like rewards from like orders. You can get them from farming, or you can get them from harvesting using gathering camps. But the, but the thing is, like, raw food is like pretty inefficient. Like like every method of getting raw food is like basically like it requires you to like line certain things up, like getting a large raw food node in the right camp. And even once you do, like it's still like sort of inefficient. Like you're generating like one raw food like every 20 seconds or so. And so like if you want to win fast, like we want to minimize the amount of time we spend on generating or gathering raw food. And and the nice thing about this is if we win fast, like the amount of raw food we need is like not that high because if you win fast, you don't need to spend that much time feeding your people. And so the goal here is we take all the starting raw food we can, and then what we're going to do is we are going to, once we get into the settlement, we'll start opening like a ton of glades, like solving the glades for their glade events, paying attention to raw food. And the goal here is I should never ever need to actually do any dedicated raw food production. The raw food I bring and the raw food I get from glades and orders, that is all the raw food we need to win, or at least that is what we are hoping for. And this is a situation where like playing faster just like makes the game easier. Like if you're winning settlements like at like year 5 or later, like you actually do have to solve raw food. But if you are winning settlements in the year 2 to 4 range, like you can just totally skip the process of solving raw food because you just get enough from various rewards that all these like small finite sources of raw food, like that is enough to win. Okay, and then other than the raw food, we take people. Like people is just something you always take. Like we're going from 16 to 19 pops, which is like far more than you'd normally start a run with. But like even though I'm at 16, I'm still gonna take more people because having more people is so valuable. You also take starting stone. Starting stone, like this is both in case I need the stone to like make more bricks or something, and also because starting stone, like you can use it to crack caches. And starting stone is like a bit less good on Scarlet Orchard, which is the biome we'll be playing on, than like other biomes because like Scarlet Orchard is naturally a stone biome, so you already have sources of stone. But like, I think even then, like having stone and bark is still more valuable than having clay and bark. Okay, as for the amber, we already have some starting amber from world events, but like we'll take more starting amber because like having starting amber, we still need to, we're gonna be opening a bunch of glades, and opening a bunch of glades means you have to pay a lot of taxes. And secondly, what we're gonna do is we're gonna once we get into the game, we'll basically like call a trader immediately to buy a bunch of missing stuff that we would like, but we don't have access to just from the beginning. Then I also take bricks. The reason why I take bricks here is because, okay, so this is Scarlet Orchard, and Scarlet Orchard has the archaeology sites, and if you complete all 3 stages of an archaeology site, you will get 2 points of reputation, and like that is important. We need those 2 points of reputation because we need the 18 to win, and like getting 18 in 2 years is really really hard. So we need every point of reputation we get, and if you want to finish the archaeology site by the end of year 2, like you need to like find it immediately. You need to get started on immediately. And stage 1 of the archaeology site, like one of the requirements is a building materials. I believe it's either 30 planks, 15 bricks, or 15 fabric. And so like we take the 13 bricks here because if we don't like find anything else at all, like we can use those 14 bricks for stage 1 of the archaeology site because we need to get started on it immediately. And then if we do find something, we use the bricks for just building buildings because that's what you use bricks for. And the last thing we have here is coal. I end up taking coal because, like, ideally, and this is sort of the same logic as raw food, except like usually fuel is a bit easier to solve, but like I would like to spend as little time producing fuel as possible, and like starting with 42 extra coal like gives you a lot of like additional room to spend your labor doing other things other than making fuel. And like once you're loading the settlement, you also see I already have like a ton of other sources of fuel, mostly from world events, and like this is a lot of fuel, and we're gonna try to see like if we can get through the settlement without having to make any fuel at all. Okay, so we load into the settlement. Okay, so we load into the settlement. This one, like, this is Trapper's Camp versus Kiln. We don't want a Trapper's Camp since we're not really expecting to like need to make any raw food. Like, if this was a slower game, then like I think you would probably take Trapper's Camp, or alternatively you'd open your glade first and see if you do Trapper's Camp. And Kiln here, like, we don't really need coal. Like, we already have a bunch of fuel. 1-star bricks is like, it's not terrible, and 1-star jerky is like not really. It's not great, mostly because the only species that cares about jerky is the lizards. So we just end up rerolling this one. Like, normally I wouldn't reroll the first recipe unless you have like a ton of amber, but like we do have a ton of amber, so like that is what is going to happen. Brickyard, on the other hand, is like pretty good. Like the bricks recipe is good. Like pottery is good as long as if we get our hands on some clay. And this isn't a clay biome, but like there's a good chance we'll get clay. And like having containers is also just useful in general because we have both foxes and lizards care about pickles, and pickles need containers. And you can also just buy containers to use for pickles, but like having a container recipe is also like pretty good. Crystallized dew is like whatever, but like it's not terrible. Like the nice thing about being able to make metal bars is like we're in Scarlet Orchard, and the archaeology building, like this one of the second tier upgrades is +1 tools production for each hostility level you have, which means tools production is really good, which means like the things that go into tools are also really good, and like metal bars go into tools. And so that's a good reason to take Brickyard. We're not taking Small Farm. It is just way too slow, and it's also like not even that great. Like if you do want to farm, like Plantation's definitely the best. Or if you want a farm that gives you food, Plantation's the best. I think Forcer's Hut is also like pretty good, but it has a different purpose than the food farm buildings. Oh, we do have some starting clay. I forgot about that. So yeah, I think that makes it so pottery is like definitely the correct pick. Or Brickyard is definitely the correct pick. Okay, and here's Weaver versus Brewery. Weaver's fabric. Fabric is the building material you care about the least, but it's not terrible. Boots are good. Both lizards and foxes want boots, but it's also a 1-star boots recipe. 1-star boot recipe, I don't think it's much worse than like 2 or 3 stars, but like I don't think that's enough of a draw for Weaver. Like trading gear is also like decent because lizards want that, but brewery is just incredibly good. Like humans want ale, and humans are the species we care least about fulfilling their needs because of their worst regenerate reputation. But having ale is so good here, and then we also have 2-star porridge, and like foxes and humans like porridge, and so like because of this, like brewery is like pretty clearly the right pick here. We also already have a source of crystal water, which is good both because we need water for porridge, but also because this building is crystal water powered. Okay, one of the first things we're going to do here is we're just going to build a bunch of woodcutters camps. The reason this is because we have the Gift of the Woods Forest Mystery, and that's the one that like gives you extra amber for each hostility level you reach. So we're just gonna like fully assign everyone to the woodcutters camp to increase hostility as much as possible, just so we can squeeze as much free amber as possible out of the forest mystery. The best place to place a rain collector is like right next to the hearth, away from your warehouse, because like you don't need to haul for the rain collector, because like the rain just automatically like teleports to wherever your rain is stored. So it only matters that your rain collector is like close to the hearth, so people can take breaks as quickly as possible, and it does not matter at all that your rain collector is close to your warehouse. Okay, and we're gonna just like try to open one dangerous glade as fast as possible. Like, even with less people, this is something that I find is like usually correct to do at P20 difficulty, as long as you have like at least like 11 or 12 people. Like, as long as you're like very proactive about opening your first dangerous glade quickly, like you can either one, solve the event before year 1 storm comes, or you can just ignore the event if the consequence is like relatively inconsequential. You can see me try to like select a bunch of trees for a while before realizing I have the cancel select option instead of the select option. You need 1 additional wood to build the trading post, so that's why I'm just trying to like spam a forced delivery, because you just need 1 more wood. Okay, so as long as you have like a good amount of foxes or a good amount of lizards, one thing that's generally worthwhile to do like at the start of every game is you place down your field kitchen and you start making skewers, because like, with just 1 need fulfilled and favoring, like you can start generating reputation with your foxes or lizards. Like that is all you need. And since like, so if you do that, you both start generating reputation early, but because you're fulfilling one of our needs, that automatically gives you a 5% bonus yield chance, and like those 2 things like alone, like that's enough to justify like making skewers like with the field kitchen like every game. And like this is like, skewers are the best complex food in the game, and they have been for like several patches, and this is why, because they are in the field kitchen. So in every game you have access to the field kitchen, and in every game you also have access to the ingredients that go into skewers, because like those are things you can just get from embarkment bonuses, which means like skewers are just like consistent, and they're consistently very good. Okay, so sort of funny thing, I was actually just trying to take the 10 amber there, but I accidentally misclicked and hit reroll instead. And then once I realized I rerolled, you see it, and I get hidden reward, and hidden reward is actually like very good. Like we sort of get lucky here because like the correct play is to just decline, I think. But what happens is I accidentally hit reroll and actually reroll to something that's very good. Okay, and so that's the first glade open. We are just going to open this immediately. The jerky is sort of nice, but the main thing we want here is just like the barrels, because another thing we want to start making is pickles, and we need containers for that. And we do have containers in the form of starting clay and the brickyard, but like we would also like these barrels because the barrels are faster, and we want to start making pickles like pretty quickly. Forgotten Temple of the Sun is like free. Like this is like one of the freest dangerous scale events. Like you do not need wildfire essence for like anything at all. Like it is just a resource that you have way too much of, and like that's so which makes the left side solve of that event like basically free. Like there is no working effect, and it's just using a resource you do not care about and you have way too much of. Okay, and since we have like 60 amber here, we're just gonna call a trader and see if we can find anything useful, because like getting just like a bit of like extra like building materials right now is going to be incredibly useful. Okay, so we're coming towards this glade because this is a glade that I have identified as the one with the archaeology site. And the reason I know this is because the closest archaeology site always spawns in a small glade. It always spawns a specific distance away from the hearth. It always spawns such that like you have to cut through like a pretty like solidly big chunk of forest to be able to get there. Like if a small glade is positioned like right next to like the edge of your starting glade, such as you only have to cut a small bit to get there, like that is not going to be one of the archaeology sites. You usually narrow it down to exactly one. Right now, we're just trying to prioritize orders that, like, one, we can complete quickly, and two, that give us extra population, because we just want to, like, ramp up population as quickly as possible. So, like, Call of the Runes, it's a very rewarding but very inconsistent time order, and I basically never take it, but like here it happens to be that like we do have one rune already, so like all we need to do is like open a few more glades, and like that gives us Call of the Runes, which is really nice because that gives us Tool Shop, and Tool Shop is like it's already one of the best, if not the best buildings in the game, but like this is Scarlet Orchard, which gives us bonuses to tool production. And so, like, Tool Shop becomes even more insane here. So, like, this is just, like, an extremely lucky break for us. And here's the second dangerous glade. We get the Drizzle Geyser we're going for. And then we also get the Harmony Spirit Altar dangerous glade event. And this one is also, like, extremely good because, like, its left side you just need fuel for, and its left side working effect, it is like, at least in this case, it is basically a route, which means like both of these dangerous glade events are like basically free. You like put something cheap into them, or like something you don't care about, and you get like a ton of resources out, and the working effect doesn't even matter. Okay, we get planks here. Getting planks here is like really useful. This is the single best thing we could have like received that a trader could have right here. So we are going to grab the planks.
What's up?
Okay, here you're about to see a magic trick. So you can, and until the building is finished being built, like you can like move their construction site, but like you can also move the construction site for like a brief moment after the building is finished building. And in doing this, you can just teleport buildings. Like this is something that still works in 1.7. Uh, Currently, there's a open experimental alpha on 1.8. You can still do this in 1.8. Like normally I don't do things that most things that like considered micro in my settlements because I don't care. But this is the one exception because like it is not hard to do at all. It's not tedious at all, and like it is extremely beneficial. Okay, there's our archaeology site. We even get a small cache, which are very nice because like with the 10 starting tools that you get from the lizards unique effect, like a small cache is the only thing you can actually open. And then we also need to get started on an archaeology site like immediately. We don't need to like have 3 workers working on it the entire time, but we do need to get started with it immediately. Okay, I end up calling another trader here, like both because we still have amber to spend, but also because I have the amber trade order that I sort of forgot about, and I would like to complete that. I ended up buying a few like containers, even though I already have a lot coming, mostly because I would like to get started on the pickles like immediately, rather than like in 1 or 2 minutes, because like I have enough money to store around, and like the pickles are important enough that I'd like to get them ready as soon as possible. We end up salvaging the clovier. Like they only give clothes for the humans, which are the species that we care least about fulfilling the needs for. And while the other recipes like decent, they're not really good enough. And so we just rather take the short-term gain over the long-term benefit of what the clovier can bring us. Also because we do need to complete a ruin event one way or the other, and the rebuilding event, like we can't do that yet because we don't have the fabric for. We would be able to do it in time, but like I think that is another reason why salvaging the building is the right play here, and the one I end up going with. I'm like tempted to do the get the converted Altar of Harmony for a moment, because that does give us resolve, which is quite nice. But I think burning it down is like pretty clearly the right play, because like it is just 15 coal for like I believe 3 stacks of resources for the cost of about 6 or 7 minutes of worker time is just an absurdly good deal. Like one thing where you're gonna notice that I do here, I'm just gonna spam open a bunch of clicks. This is because like when it comes to like efficiency, the most efficient things you can do are like do glade events. If you like compare like any sort of production whatsoever compared to glade events, whether it's like gathering or producing in a building, you will find that the most efficient in terms of amount of resources gained divided by amount of time spent is glade events. And this makes sense because glade events are like very finite. You get like two or three of dangerous glade, and that's it. But like, if you are fast enough, what you can do is you can basically like subsist off glade events. Like just from the resources you get from glade events, like that is a very significant portion of the resources you get, and you can use those resources to end the game before you start running out. And this requires you to play like a certain fast enough to take advantage of that, because like if you don't win fast enough, you will run out, and then you will be like, okay, where do I get more resources? And the answer is, okay, well, you actually need to do things now, but you also have like 5 glades open, and there's a ton of hostility. So like if like I've talked earlier about like how like winning fast in many ways makes the game easier, and that is like one of like the foremost examples. Okay, it's year 1 clearance now. At this point, we're already starting to generate reputation from the foxes. This blade post is mostly just to get the producing purging fire order out of the way. This one does give us more people as well. We want as many people as we can as soon as possible. I didn't realize this until like a bit later, but like we are getting a just absurd number of tablets here. We get like a few tablets from that dangerous good event, then we get 2 more from the altar, and then we have the hidden reward cornerstone as well. And then now we get this, and that's even more tablets. So like in like a few minutes, we'll be sitting at like 10 tablets. And the left side is like basically always correct on the obelisk. Like the left side gives you like so much stuff, while the right side is like 10 of hostility and like ability to like tank like one more assist or something like that. It is nothing. But like the left side is like extremely, extremely good. The Blight Post is getting kept around. It's like not inconceivable that we like might actually need to fight Blight just year one because of like we were already like going really hard when it comes to Rain Punk. So, well, we're already getting a tool shop from the orders. But on the other hand, like Greenhouse like does like nothing for us. Like we do have Drizzle Water, but like Greenhouse is like not something we want to ever touch because like it makes mushrooms at a pretty slow rate. I forgot what I end up doing here, but like either of these options are fine. I think. I mean, like realistically, you take the greenhouse because like you're getting tool shop in like a few minutes, but greenhouse like this is with like the understanding that like greenhouse like you should not never need the greenhouse. If you ever need the greenhouse, you have already failed, and like this run has gone very awry. The extra containers we bought don't end up mattering because like we already get the containers by the time we start making pickles. It's fine though. And there's a tool shop. Tool shop is also just really nice here because it also has a tier 2 boots recipe. And like we were talking earlier with the Weaver, the question of whether we want to take the Weaver for the tier 1 boots, and like we decide no. And like one of the reasons is because we might just get a boots recipe like later. And here, yeah, we have one, and it's here too. And we even have the letter to go into it because there are letter nodes right next to the archaeology site. Okay, here's a pretty tough decision. Like, the reason I might take the market here is okay, one, treatment works on foxes, and like foxes are the ones that we care most about generating reputation from, and also our majority species. And then leisure also works with the humans. That matters less, but that's also nice. Also, like service buildings are hard to find. Like, there's two reasons why this is. One is just because there's not many of them, and then two is the way blueprint generation works. Like, there's a few guarantees on like building types that you get that like blueprint generation ensures, but the guaranteed city building you get, I think those are like very late. By that time, like the game's already over. Like the rightmost option of every blueprint is just a wild card. It's a randomly generated building without any like regard for what the actual like blueprint pool it's pulling from is. And so like if you want an early service building, like basically you have to get it from a wild card. And like that makes like early service buildings that you get from blueprints like really valuable because it's really hard to find anywhere else. But on our hand, Smokehouse is also just pretty good here. Like one, it gives us jerky. Jerky is good both because jerky is a makes our skewers recipe a lot more efficient. Also because the lizards do care about jerky. Also because incense works with our foxes. It also works with humans. And like either way, like fulfilling like service needs is a two-step process. You need both the service goods and you need the service building. It's a plus B where you need both A and B, and like one of the options is an A and the other one is a B. It's like either way, it is like putting us like it is progress towards getting a service building. Or fulfilling a service, I should say. We teleport over guys. It's magic. Normally, it is not really reasonable to expect to have to be able to generate reputation from resolve during year one storm. Like the amount of resolve you need for that is just too high. But like, we actually can here because like once these pickles start rolling out, we will have enough to just start. But to do that, that requires you to fulfill two needs, and like that's a lot more expensive than fulfilling one need. Because the first complex food need you fulfill, like that takes the place of the raw food you'd otherwise give them. So the only cost here is like the cost of producing the complex food, or the labor costs of producing the complex food, because there isn't actually any additional resource costs. But if you're feeding them two foods, like if you're feeding fulfilling two needs, that involves like feeding them two foods at once, and they're eating two foods at once, which means that there's both a resource cost and a labor cost. Like in most situations, like you would not want to start fulfilling two needs during year one storm. It is just like too resource inefficient. But here we are doing so. And this is only because we're going like really, really fast, and we do have enough resources where we can get away with it. Otherwise, like this would not be a good idea. And like if I were playing like a more normal settlement with a less ridiculously good start, like I would not be doing this. Here's a second tool shop. The main reason we end up doing this is because like we want both tools and boots from tool shop, and the boots recipe in particular is like on the slower side of things. And if you actually want to be able to have like this enough throughput to like make both, like that requires two tool shops, I believe. And now we're back to generating reputation from the foxes. Ancient strength is really good here. We don't need to locate the first archaeology site because we've already located, so we just take ancient strength. sort of awkwardly, we sold enough incense that like we don't actually have enough incense to immediately be on stage 2. We'll get more from the large cache, but like this will delay things a bit. But ultimately, it's fine. We had a haunted market here, and like, okay, maybe that would have been nice to see before I picked the market. But also like cleansing the market is like actual like enormous hassle, and like realistically, it probably wouldn't have been possible. So like, regardless of whether there's a haunted market or not, I think the picking the market from the blueprint pick was justifiable. So ancient strength is definitely correct, and so is I forgot what this was called. Forbidden tools. Like the alternate option to forbidden tools is the one that gives you -10 hostility for each ancient tablet, and this option like sucks. I don't know why people pick it. It is bad. Even if you're going slower, it is like bad. And one, it's because okay, tablets are actually worth a lot. Whereas 10 hostility, like it's not nothing, but like 8 amber for 10 hostility is like this is a trade you'll make sometimes, but like it is even when you make this trade, it is like not a particularly like valuable trade because like you are passing up a lot for just a small amount of hostility reduction. And to pick the -10 hostility for each tablet option in the first place, this requires you to give up forbidden tools. And forbidden tools is like really, really good. Like if you're at hostility 4, like this is doubling your tools production. And like the thing about like tools production is once you have like really strong tools production going, like you just like win the game. Like maybe you won't win for another year or another 2 years, and it takes that long to close out the game. But like once you have like good tools production going, like you have secured the game. Like it is like not particular exaggeration to say like forbidden tools is in effect just wins you the game. So like if I wanted, I think I have like 10 tablets right now, which is an absurd amount of tablets, like way more tablets than you normally get. If I took the hostility for tablets option, like what I'd be doing is like I'd be throwing away like a legitimately like game-winning win condition to receive like -100 hostility while also giving up like 80 amber. Like that is just a ridiculously bad deal. Like that's like, and even in a situation where like we're not going as fast and hostility reduction matters a bit more, like it is still a bad deal. And likewise, like I said before, I have 10 tablets, and like most runs you do not get anywhere close to 10 tablets. The situations where the hostility for tablets are actually good, it is like so narrow. Like it is a bait. You should basically never take it. Beat the monastery blueprint. Monastery is very good here. It gives us -100 hostility. That's as much hostility as 80 amber worth of tablets. And then it also has religion. And foxes like religion. We also have like some amount of incense to go with it, but not much because we don't actually have a permanent source of incense, and we're just getting like the incense is all from like caches. So ideally we would like a source of incense. Like we skipped the smokehouse, so we don't have one. Need of tip for timber here. I believe we ended up taking the trade route one. Like this one, like its words are like unusually bad for a timed order, but also like fulfilling need for timber here requires like to commit a lot to wood cutting, and like I don't think we can commit that much to wood cutting right now. Especially since like we we do not need like too much more wood to end the game. So I'd rather just take the order that we're most likely to actually be able to complete, because we do want as much reputation from orders as possible. And that ends up being the trade route one. I don't know if these are incredible, but like Blight Rod Pruner is decent. It gives us a bit more resources. Farsight isn't terrible either, because like, especially since like increased glade event speed matters, because like we want to win quick, so we need to like be able to fulfill glade events, complete glade events quick, and like Farsight helps like a decent amount for that. But like I think ultimately Bright Rod Pruner like matters a bit more. But more ultimately, like cornerstones do not really matter. Like there are some like absurdly good cornerstones. Improvised tools, for example, Rebellious Spirit is also like incredibly good, but for the most part, like the things you have access to in every settlement in Against the Storm like are so strong that like that is what wins you game. Not getting good cornerstones. Like fulfilling each complex food need is 5% bonus yield, and then like service needs are 10%. And like getting 15% like bonus yield from like fulfilling needs is something you can do consistently and pretty straightforwardly every game. It is fulfilling needs is something that like pushes you towards victory, both because like it gives you reputation points and because it makes your production much better, and that is something you can take advantage of every game. And compared to like cornerstones, most cornerstones are like not like super absurdly impactful. They might be like a little bit impactful, but compared to cornerstones being not that impactful and inconsistent, like the best way to win games and like win many of them fast is just to be able to just know how to like utilize the core systems of the games to like push you towards victory, because the core game systems are extremely powerful. Like this is what I'm sort of like trying to demonstrate here right now, and like just being able to use them well, like that is the most important skill to have. I spent like entire half minute fumbling here trying to figure out if I can tell if like any of my buildings are like consuming roots, but I've never used the trends tab before. Like I don't know how this works, and like so like nothing actually happens here. It would have been really nice to be able to see this encampment like in one of the first two glades we opened, because at this point, like I think the people getting the people here is still nice, but like at this point it's like barely worth it. We are like halfway through our settlement already, and like we're already at 26 people, and like it's gonna be a few more minutes before we can actually get the remaining 4 from this event. So like we're still benefiting from it, but like it's pretty minor at this point. At this point, the hostility is 4, which means, like I said earlier, we are doubling our tools production. I have played quite a few games in Scarlet Orchard where I get a tool shop, and because of forbidden tools, I can make like 100 tools just from like 30 metal bars. Like the efficiency of like the tools recipe with the bonus from forbidden tools is like absurd. Like you can just make truly ridiculous amounts of tools, and this is something you have access to every game that you play on Forbidden or on Scarlet Orchard. Like if you've played with the cornerstones on what's it called, Ashen Thicket, is that what it's called? I forget what it is, but on the biome that you make cornerstones and you compare Forbidden Tools to them, like Forbidden Tools is better than like maybe about 90% of all the cornerstones you'll ever roll in Ashen Thicket, and it is something that you get access to every game rather than like something that you have to high roll to get to. And this is like another thing I'm referring to when I say like the most powerful like systems in the game are just the ones that are strong, but also the ones that you have access to like consistently. There's a blood flower. This would have been like a real hassle if it showed up a few minutes earlier, but at this point in time, like ideally we're winning before this blood flower pops. And even once it does, we're only going down to -3 resolve. Or we're going down -3 resolve, which isn't like an absurd amount of resolve to be losing. So we're just going to ignore his blood flower. If we tried to work it, we'd lose like a ton of food. And like, we don't want to lose that food right now. Or ever for that matter. So we're just going to ignore it because it is perfectly safe to do so. Yeah, we have 13 tablets right now. I'm gonna buy a bit of food, and I don't think this, and a few other things with these habits, I don't think this really like ends up mattering. But we have some extra money, so I might as well spend it. I think I end up spending like basically all my tablets. In fact, this probably is like a little bit of a mistake because I sort of completely forgot that I did have Ancient Strength, and Ancient Strength is like a pretty nice effect. So it's nice to keep a few tablets around for that. Like, it is a significant increase like hauling capacity and movement speed that's high enough that it ends up being actually relevant. And then once we no longer need it, we can just sell all the remaining tablets. Okay. Here is a pretty big mistake. One of those buildings, it's a smokehouse, and what I should do here is the moment I see that smokehouse, start repairing it, because I have monastery and smokehouse produces incense. But I think what ends up happening is I end up just like start salvaging it or something. Like that is not the right play. Like this is wrong. Like this is a big mistake. The moment I see that, like I definitely should start repairing it, but I don't. And this is definitely something that could like easily just like cost me. This could be the difference between year 2 and year 3 here, and like the fact that ends up not being the case is like fortunate on my part, but also that is not a mistake that I should have made. But like, And like it's much easier for me to say that in retrospect, but I think even then, like as long as you're being conscientious of like what the objectives you need to fulfill to be able to hit your 18 reputation and win the game, like that is something you should be able to identify. And the fact I didn't here, that's a big mistake. There's three more tablets on the left side solve. We don't end up doing the left side solve because, like, at that point, like, we don't need it anymore. The hostility will actually, like, is enough that'll impede our reputation generation slightly. But normally you do not need to, like, buy food from the traders at all, and in fact it's like pretty inefficient to do so because like buying food from the traders is expensive. Like if you need more food, like either you attack a trader or like you open more glades. But like I have, like this is not something I do in a normal run, but this isn't a normal run. This is a run where I started with like 60 ampered and I got like 12 tablets for free, so I'm buying food here. Even then, like I don't think I needed that much food. Like, well, by the time we end the game, like I'll still have like a decent amount of food left. I'm pretty sure. Like as long as I just like maybe get like a bit more from like glade events, or if I had just repaired the smokehouse so I could make jerky efficiently, and that would also make skewers more the skewers recipe more efficient. Okay, the other big mistake that I make in this settlement is related to that camp at the bottom. Like right now, they are cutting trees very slowly because there's no rare house like anywhere close. And if they want to haul, like it's gonna take them a long time to haul. And what I should have done is like I teleport a rare house like the bottom. Like, I still haven't done that yet, but like, and it is like definitely right to do so. In fact, like that camp is gonna remain there for like the end of the until the end of the game. Like like the labor and also in the camp there, it ends up being like totally wasted, and like that is another one of the not game losing, but like year two victory losing mistakes that I mentioned that like I should have known better to avoid, even not just in retrospect, but even when playing the game. But like, oh well, camps don't matter. Like I forget if I reroll or not. Rerolling is kind of expensive at this point, but like those camps do not matter. If we take either of them, neither of them are going to be relevant. I don't think I end up burning down the haunted market because it takes like 6 minutes. had a bit more money, I might have bought the tavern, but also a tavern just like does not really provide me any of the service needs that I want. So like it's not even that great of a building here. Like, and at this point I think I sell the last of my tablets, which this is not right. Like this is not the correct play here, but it is the one that ended up doing. I'm pretty sure. I don't actually have any way of making tea yet, but I'm just gonna build it anyway. Because since the ale does matter, like one of our orders wants us to fulfill service, and the other one wants us to make ale. So like, it is so worthwhile. And eventually, like like I said before, humans are like definitely the species that we care least about fulfilling their needs for. But like at some point, we're probably going to be able to fulfill those needs if we put like a slight bit of effort into doing so. So like doing so, trying to go out of my way to do that is like still like worthwhile. You can see the warehouse get finished there, but also I forget about it, so I don't teleport it. So now there's just a random extra warehouse next to my main warehouse. Like, oh wow, the cutting's slow. I should add another person. And like, no, the correct answer is that I should give them a warehouse. But okay. These trade routes are kind of really awkward. Like, I would be able to fulfill the high value trade route order, but these trade routes are really uncooperative. Okay, I guess a note on something that happens this run. Starting this point, starting from here, I played to about like halfway through year two storm before I realized, oh fuck, I made this really stupid mistake. So then I just like Alt F4, and then once I reload back into the settlement, I'm about here. And the recording that you'll see is like from the second time after I realized I made the mistake. Like I think I said before that like this run is like for the most part like done like blind, but like that is probably like the biggest exception to that. I do go back once. But it wasn't first like any like RNG manipulation or like getting a specific role reason. It's just because like I made a very obvious mistake and I want to go back and undo it. Yeah, okay, like here's the reload. Alchemist's Hut is like basically exactly what I want because we needed the tea for the market. We already have the market, so now we just need tea, and the Alchemist Hut provides us that. Although it's a little awkward since I do need more containers, which I have apparently run out of. But I have ways to get those, mostly the brickyard. I check on the bottom woodcutter camp again. It's going slow because there's still no warehouse, so of course it's going slow. But like I don't think to like, oh, that needs a warehouse. I just like continue. Like genuinely a little baffled that I let that slip by, but like yeah, no, this just continues happening till the end of the run. One thing I'm gonna try to do here is like look for opportunities to like actually get those trade routes I need. Because like this is just like part of the win condition. Like to win you generate reputation, and one point of reputation I get is from those trade routes. So I would like to do those. Like, are these like in terms of value like objectively bad trades? Yeah, but it's what we need to win. So that's what we're doing. Gain altar of decay there is actually pretty nice because like if I need to shoot hostility lower, you just like flicker the left side, I believe, a few times, and this will kill people. And killing people decreases the hostility, both because it reduces the number of people generating hostility and also generates impatience, which reduces hostility. I don't know if these particularly matter. I think I. Wait, take the bakery here? Okay. Okay. It doesn't actually matter, but like. I guess I take the bakery there. I do need to want to try to complete this before the year runs out, or the time runs out, and that's like perfectly doable. Mostly because I have like a bunch of C mirror that I can sacrifice to increase the great event working speed. But like that is something I do have to pay attention to. Hey, that one warehouse that I built minutes ago, that fried teleport's still there. Oh, and this is the last trader. Like, I am looking for some stuff here, but the main reason is just to shoot the impatience up to max. Like I talked a little bit before about how like hostility like decreases generally like sort of overrated, and like one of the reasons why is precisely because of impatience. Like the impatience bar, it is 14 notches. Each notch is minus 15 hostility, which means if you have a full impatience bar, that is an entire 210 hostility reduction. Like think about like most settlements you play. Like how much impatience do you have at the end? Because if it enters zero, that's like you're leaving 210 hostility reduction off the table. Realistically, the number's somewhat less because like you want to leave some room for error or room for bad RNG, but like generally like your impatience bar is a resource that you can take advantage of, and that one you should. And like the whole like the way you win a settlement is you get 18 impatience or you get 18 reputation. Once you get 18 reputation, nothing matters. Like it doesn't matter if everyone's dying, it doesn't matter if your hostility bar is full, it doesn't matter if you're out of fuel, it doesn't matter if there's 20 blight rosses, like because you are one, you have reached the 18 and you are getting out of here. And this is the same thing with impatience. Like being at low hostility like makes it easier to close out the game. And so like you don't have to do it like immediately, but like once you're approaching endgame, you should always just shoot up your impatience as high as possible. Like just enough to not lose the game with a bit of room for error. And that way your the impatience just becomes free hostility reduction. Like I think one useful like lesson to learn is like try playing a settlement where you like intentionally like shoot the impatience up really high like really early, and you'll probably go to last stand a few times, and but that's okay because each last stand that is worth that 1.5 minute of like time where you cannot lose, and each time you gain any point of reputation at all from any source, this will drop you out of last stand. It will unfill the impatience bar, and then once you go into last stand again, you get another 1.5 minute. You can continue looping this as long as you have ways to generate reputation, which means that even if you are at maximum impatience, you can often like forestall the end of the game for like a year or like even longer, as long as like you're being smart about generating reputation. Which is why like it is so beneficial to like just shoot your impatience up to max, because like it is at like having a max impatience bar, like as long as like you have a solid game plan, you have a few ways to generate reputation, like you're shooting your impatience up to max when endgame comes, like it's like as long as you play it right, like it will not kill your settlement. It will lower your impatience or lower your hostility by an entire level or two, and like making closing out the game much easier. If you like pay attention to these sorts of things, like this can like shave an entire year off your run. now at this point, like, it's mostly waiting. Like, we still need to generate a bit more reputation and, like, do that. We need to produce a few more, like, goods that allow us to generate the reputation. We need to do 2 more high value trade routes. We need to wait for a few glade events to pop, and all of these, like, I've prioritized them enough that all of them, the glade events should finish before the end of year 2. But after this is mostly just like waiting. Like, don't do anything stupid, don't make things go wrong, and like do the things that you have to do to prevent the game from like ending itself by like you hitting max reputation or by you running out of steam before you hit the finish line. Like, it looks like we're far away. Like, we were like 7 points away, but now we're like 5 points away from winning, and like the remaining few points will like just like come in very quickly because I have prioritized the things that I need to do to get those last points in. Right now, I'm waffling a little about whether to attack the trader. The correct answer is yes. I cancel on doing so. I don't know why I did that, but like the remaining resources, like they can maybe help me get in a few more trade routes I need to fulfill the order, and also it would it would make sure my hostility like never goes above 0 during storm, which would be nice for generating reputation from resolve. But ultimately, I don't think I end up clicking that button. This is a mistake that doesn't matter anymore at this point in the game, but it is a mistake, and I should have attacked the trader. Like, if you don't attack traders, like, you might not be aware of this, but attacking traders is just absurdly good. Like, you just get a ridiculous amount of goods from it. If you attack Sofer in particular, he like inflicts a curse on you that makes like all your goods like 90% less valuable for traders. It's like Sofer in particular, you only attack him right if he's your last trader, if you are going to end the game like pretty soon after this. But like otherwise, attacking trader is just like a good option. Like if you're aggressively opening glades and you run into a blood flower, like this is bad. Like you automatically like just by the fact that you have run into a blood flower, you are losing out on about 100 food. But this is okay because there are ways to get a larger amount of food for relatively low cost while like not even giving up much. And that is you call traders until you get Zorg, and then you attack Zorg, and then he gives you 200 food because he's such a nice guy. Or maybe it's the threat of force. It was either one of those two. And now at this point, we're turning all the rain engines on just for the last bit of reputation. Trying to squeeze as much reputation out from resolve as possible, and then get the rest through various glade events and orders. Like, with this level of corruption, the heart is probably gonna pop once, but this is fine. Like, I haven't redeemed the Happy Brewing order yet, and this is because in case like I do need to deal with corruption pop and everyone dies and then I go to last stand and then it's only a minute and a half till I lose, like I can always just like cancel last stand and go back into being perfectly safe by redeeming the Happy Brewing. Like as long as you like I had a run like several months before I played this one, where he was on pace to year 3 and ended up losing to corruption because I wasn't paying attention to reputation generation. And even though I had like 4 reputation coming within like the last few minutes, like none of them were enough to like none of them came soon enough to stop Last Stand. And like, but as long as you do pay attention to Last Stand timing, like, it's fine if like you are max impatient, and it's fine if you're about to die to Blight, because you're not actually about to die because you have Last Stand, because Last Stand is just a ridiculously good mechanic, and that, if you take advantage of, like, buys you so much room for error. Oh no, we're in Last Stand. We're about to lose the game in 1.5 minutes. What shall we do? Okay, and then we're 1 reputation out from winning. So then we just redeem this and we win. Cool. Right, pause for a moment. Let's talk about, like, my resources right now. Okay, so the premise of Against the Storm is like, it's a roguelike city builder where, and like, the whole point of city builder is like, you're supposed to build like a sustainable city, right? But this is not how this game works. Like, this is like the premise that they present, but ultimately winning a settlement is about getting 18 points of reputation. Like, it does not matter. Like, I have 16 food left. Like, if this goes any longer, people will start starving. I have, like, I still have a bit of fuel left, but I'm running out. Like, I have a fuck ton of blight. I'm not sure how much this is, but like, more people are gonna die. And I have 7. I believe I have 7 dangerous glades open, and then I have like 2 more normal glades open, which is an entire like 240 hostility from glades. Like, if this game goes on for longer, and the hostility is gonna be unbearable. I'm at basically max impatience. If this game would have gone on longer, like, I would lose very quickly in the patience. But none of these things matter, because like, I am at my 18 points of reputation, and that's how you win. And once you're at 18, nothing else matters. Like, the point of Against the Storm is not really to build a sustainable settlement. It is to burn your settlement to the ground until there's nothing left, and doing everything you can to squeeze out those last points of reputation. And then oh yeah, this settlement is like doomed. Like, if 1 year later, like, everyone's going to be dead, but that doesn't matter because I have my 18 points and I am now out of here, and it's now someone else's problem to deal with. And there we go. That's year 2. I did have Gathering Storm, which makes the storm a bit longer, but at that point, I also had a extra minute on the second on year 2 clearance because of the clearance title I bought. But even with those, this was only halfway through year 2 storm. I think even without those, I'm pretty sure this was still a year 2. I believe the point in time I ended up winning was about 23.5 minutes, which would still be in year 2 without any time extensions. Okay, one last thing I have to say. It's about micro. Okay, so, like, there's only one thing in this run here that I would consider micro that I did, which is like teleported warehouse. It's like, everything else I did, I think, is basically just like worker management, like making sure your workers are like working the right things, they're in the right places, and that they're not doing things that, like, they're not doing nothing at all, or they're not doing things that you don't care about. Like, I think, especially on Reddit, like, I I think people are like way too obsessed about like micro, and I don't mean this in the sense that like they go out of their way to like micro everything to like be efficient, but like they regard micro as like something that is far more important than it actually is. Like your micro, like microing things, like moving your woodcutters around to like teleport them, or like microing camps, that sort of thing, or like microing your firekeeper. Like these things like are only like small, very marginal improvements to your efficiency. Like ultimately, your micro is only as ever good as your macro level decision making, because all it does is it makes what you are doing slightly more efficient. Your micro can only be ever as good as your macro, and if you are pl- if you're making good macro decisions, you will have a good run. If you're making bad macro decisions, you will have a bad run. And I think in this run, like there are two like really major mistakes I've pointed out. Not rebuilding the smokehouse and not building a warehouse in the bottom glade so I could open that one forbidden glade. But like ultimately, I think in this one, like I made almost all the big important correct macro decisions. Like I think I made, for the most part, the right or at least reasonable blueprint choices. I From the beginning, I very aggressively focused on generating early reputation to snowball into more blueprints by like prioritizing the field kitchen very early, which is I think is something you should do every game. You should always build a field kitchen immediately. You should always start making something useful in the field kitchen immediately. I think I prioritize like solving events and opening glades mostly correctly, and I understood that I had to like very aggressively prioritize archaeology, and that I'd probably have to take something from the embarkation bonuses specifically for the purposes of archaeology if I wanted to do it in time. Like I think for the most part, like my macro was good, and I basically did zero. I only did one thing that would actually be considered micro, and this is because like micro like really does not actually matter. Like you can win basically every settlement at year 3, or maybe year 4 if it's a slow settlement if you're unlucky, just by playing the macro well. And like and like maybe once you get to the point where you're winning year 3 at prestige 20 consistently, you can start being concerned about micro, if you even care about. Like I don't micro because I don't, this is just not something I care about. It's not something that makes the game interesting for me, so that's just something I ignore. But it doesn't really matter. Like you win year 3 consistently without any micro at all, because micro doesn't matter. And I think one of the biggest tips I have, if you want to improve at this game, if you want to play, if you want to win faster, it's just to like think about how all your decisions, all your macro decisions, how they point you towards winning the game. And winning the game is 18 reputation, and reputation comes from glade defense, it comes from orders, and it comes from resolve. So like you should be asking like how does this whatever I'm doing help me generate reputation, specifically through one of the 3 ways you can generate reputation. And maybe the answer is indirect. Like if you're building a huge trade engine, like you should like you should be thinking to yourself, I am building this trade engine because it gives me a bunch of amber, and I can spend amber on useful things, and these useful things help me generate reputation. Like even though it's indirect, like there is like it is ultimately still towards generating reputation. And if you focus on doing this, focus specifically on your win conditions instead of like worrying specifically about like minor micro optimizations. Like this more than anything else will help you win games, and it'll help you win games faster. And I also got at this earlier, but at the end of each settlement, before you've won, take a look at everything you have left. Like ideally, you should have like relatively small amount of food, relatively small amount of all the other resources, a relatively small amount of fuel, and relatively close to max impatience bar. Because like if you didn't, this indicates that like you probably like overproduced to some degree. Like there is a point like there is a point in the game, like maybe a year out from victory, where you can say like, oh, I have enough resources to just win. So like I should focus my labor on things that like contribute directly to winning faster instead of like producing resources that like will be wasted when a settlement ends. Like there is some room for error because like you could roll badly or like other sorts of bad luck where like you thought you had enough food, but like something preventing you from winning, delaying your win means that you don't. There's some room for error, but like if you are ending the game with 300 food, that means you overproduce. Like there is not an actual reason to have like more than 300 food when you win. Like if you have 100 food, like that might be because you're hedging your bets. Like if you like I end up winning with 100 food left, but if I had gone less lucky, I would have won right when I ran out of food. Like that is fine. But if you have like 300 food left, you overproduced. If you have like 500 fuel left, you overproduced. If you have like 50 of each building material at the end, you overproduced. If you have impatience bar that's at like 4 impatience and not like close to max, or like reasonably, or at least like halfway filled, there is more you could have done to shoot up your impatience, to have lowered your hostility, to have ended the game quicker. So like that is like perspective that I've a way of thinking that I found very useful when it comes to like analyzing my games, and I think that's like something that's like very applicable regardless of like how fast you actually are, to be able to like identify like the places where like, oh, this was unnecessary, like I could have just cut this out. And even not just in retrospect, but even when I was playing the settlement, I could have reasonably said to myself, okay, this isn't necessary, so I won't do it anymore, and I will do something. I will instead put my labor and resources to something that is helpful and will help me win the game. Okay. I think that is like basically all I have to say about the settlement. I do think I already said a lot, and that was already like pretty long-winded. So like, if you got all the way here and watched the whole thing, kudos to you. Thank you to you. I don't know if I'm going to make more against the storm videos. Like I feel like I'm about done with this game. Like I got mostly what I wanted from this game. I have gone this year too, and I'm like happy with where the game what I've done with this game, and I don't feel the need to do any more. But like if I get back in this game, I might post more, but like also maybe not. We shall see. In any case, I hope you found this video helpful and the things that I've mentioned here like useful. And okay, that's all I have to say. Bye.